So to just kind of, talk a little bit more, like I said, that was just a little offshoot there, sidetrack. I just wanted to, just tell one more cool story, if you will. Just bear with me. Um, some of you have probably, you know, heard the story before. Um, Let me try to get to it. Let's see. I believe it's in Numbers. Yeah, 22. Numbers 22, if you want to look it up. Again, avail yourself of eSword. Get that. It's a free app. You can donate to that person if you wish, because it's really cool. It's helped me a lot. And, it'll help you as you study God's word. But this is the story about a guy named Balaam. And he was a prophet of God. But he kind of went astray and kind of backslid, if you will. And he didn't keep following in God's ways. And people kept trying to hire this guy out to curse the people of Israel. And I'm just going to get to the point in the story where uh, this gentleman is riding on a donkey. It's an ass or whatever the Bible describes it as in your version of the Bible. In Numbers 22, he starts to go traveling on this donkey. And I'll just read it really quick. It says in Numbers 22, verse 22, it says, "And God's anger was kindled because he, Balaam, went. And the angel of the Lord," remember I described that in a few videos back, "stood in the way as for an adversary." So he was getting in the way of this guy, in his path, if you will. And God was basically going to stand against what Balaam was going to do, go to try to put a curse on Israel or whatever. And it says, "When he was riding upon his ass, his two servants were with him. And the ass or the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way." Now, what's interesting is here's an animal, even though there's a man riding the animal can see God, an actual person, standing in the road. You may think that's just some made up thing. It's not, it's a true account. And as I told you, God appears, angels have appeared in the Old Testament, New Testament. They go in and out, of the dimension or, the space that we live in. And whether you believe it or not, there are angels and fallen angels and demonic spirits swarming all around you, and you don't even see them. They're watching everything we do. And we can get into those studies, but feel free to comment on what you want me to go over. It's just kind of cool, but that's the truth. So anyway, this guy's riding on this donkey, and he's going to go try to curse, the people of God, if you will, Israel. And God, the angel of the Lord, is standing in the way. And it says, "But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself onto the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. And he smote her again." So I don't know if I read it, but when the angel saw this person standing in the road, it turned or whatever. And so this guy Balaam, beat the donkey. Can you imagine just whipping the thing or whatever, a rope or whatever? You're like, what the heck are you doing? Can you imagine, maybe some cuss words? I don't know. Just picture yourself getting frustrated. And this, donkey sees this, angel, and it crushes his foot against a stone wall or whatever they were made out of over there. And, it ticked him off and got him mad. And so he beat her again, So he's hitting this poor animal, and it's a she's carrying the guy around. And it goes on to say in verse 26, "And the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn either to the right or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam." So the poor animal basically, um, you know, squatted down or whatever happened, and just basically sat down. And can you imagine this whole scenario where, he's just getting mad and madder and madder. And, he's beating this poor animal. And the animal sees something in the way. And, she's trying to get out of the way. And, it says the angel of the Lord, basically God went further. And so finally, there was no way for the animal to go left or right. And so she fell down. So basically, laid down or whatever, fell down. And it said Balaam's anger was kindled and he smote the ass with a staff. So he's beating the heck out of this poor donkey with a stick, So I went on to say, obviously, it was a stick. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam. So here's the cool thing. I often wondered if when in the Genesis, it talks about how Adam, who was the first man created, named all the animals, okay? And God brought them before this being Adam, before he had sinned. And his brain was like a supercomputer. People want us to be these little Stone Age people running around or cavemen grunting and fire, where all these dumb, where all these aliens had to build civilizations, and yet, if you read the Bible simply, you realize that we were intended to live forever, and our brains were like in tune with God, and we had communion with God, and like a supercomputer, He named all these animals, and I believe that there was a greater form of communication between humans and animals. You even look at what science today is doing, where they're training these, apes and stuff to, communicate or ask for bananas or whatever. You look at an octopus and how, you put some food in a chamber over here and it squeezes through the other one and gets to it, and they're smart. And I used to wonder if we could ever talk to them. And I believe since God, He can do anything, of course. But I do believe that there was greater communication before our sin wrecked our communion with God. It also kind of wrecked, our relationship to animals and the planet in general. So anyway, to go on, it says God opened the mouth of this ass, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you beat me up 3 times?" So here's this animal talking to this guy. And he even talks back. Isn't that interesting? He says to the ass, "Because you've mocked me, I would that there was a sword in my hand, for I would kill you." He was so mad at this animal. It wasn't doing what he wanted to do, okay? And he said, I would kill you. If I had a sword, I'd just kill you. And then it goes on to say in verse 30, "And the ass said unto Balaam, Am I not your donkey, your ass, upon which you've ridden ever since I was yours unto this very day?" So the animal's like, "Look, am I not your faithful animal? I mean, can you picture your dog talking to you one day? It's just a cool thing to think about. And this is a true story according to the Bible. It's not some fairy tale. God allowed this animal to talk to this guy, and he talks back, which is, kind of crazy in and of itself. And he tells him, "I would kill you." And she's like, "Well, I've been faithful to you. Haven't you been riding around on me ever since the day you had me?" And to go on with the story, it says, "I was yours, and to this day, was I ever want to do anything like that to you?" And Balaam said, "No." So the donkey's like, "Look, I've been good to you, and you want to kill me." What a conversation. But to move on, it says, "Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord," which is kind of what I wanted to concentrate on, "standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand." So here's God standing in the path that this animal could see, and this prophet that's gone, astray, basically going to try to bring a curse on God's people. And God is standing there with a sword in his hand. Okay? And it says, "And he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Why have you smitten your ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand you, because your way is perverse before me." So you're going to have to do something screwed up, God says to this prophet. And I was getting in the way. So why are you beating up on the animal? And then God goes on to tell him, and he says, and the ass saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. Because the animal could see God with a sword in his hand, there was some sort of concept that I'm going to protect my master and get out of the way of this person with a sword. And she gets beat for it. And then he wants to kill her. He's going to do something wrong to her, the innocent animal. Kind of like he's going to go curse some people. And God's like, no, you're not. And it goes on to say, and Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now, therefore, it is, if it displeases you, I will get me back again. And then it goes on to say, and the angel of the Lord said unto Balaam, go with the men, but only the word that I speak unto you shall you speak. So that was my other cool story. And how does it relate today and to me and maybe, just talking to you guys? I see on television and, I keep talking about Hollywood. I mean, to me, that's just worthless crap coming out of that place. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just being honest. It's crap. The movies stink. It's all a bunch of preachy political crap. I'm sick of hearing it and don't even watch it. I don't even watch much TV anymore. But what's cool is I still have a relationship with God. And I've had a relationship with God since I was a young boy. And as flawed as I am and as screwed up as I am, and I've done some screwed up sinful things in my life and still will, I can ask God to forgive me and cleanse me from that unrighteousness, and he will, if I'm sincere in here and I'm not deliberately practicing some sinful thing. And you can too. It's like there are people who get up and go, oh, I'm this, like the Pharisees and the people in the Bible. Look at me, I pray, I'm this great religious leader, I yada yada, and they talk well and all this positive thinking and, positive this and positive that. And they don't ever tell you how God said we're screwed up, sinful people. Our hearts are wicked, and out of our hearts come all these sins like adultery and fornication and pedophilia and necrophilia and bestiality. I'm being honest. And that's what's going on in the world today in our own very country. And in my own life, we've all had all these things. We're guilty of something, some things. But what's cool is we can be forgiven if we ask for mercy. Lord, forgive me, a sinner. Forgive me. This guy right here talking is a sinner. But that's the difference that God wants to see. He wants to look in people's hearts and see if they feel bad for what they do. If they really want to change. If they are mean business and they're not just faking, And that's the hope I offer to you guys. Look in the Bible, read about this God. He'll forgive you, no matter how screwed up life is, And here's this God I wanted to tell you that has a sword in his hand, and he's coming to kick rear. I mean, honestly, he's going to kill this man. And that's nothing you really hear about God. You see this pansified, wimpy version of God, or Jesus is just this, soft person. Yeah, God's merciful. Remember when they came looking for Jesus? Who are you looking for? We're looking for Jesus. And he says, I am he. And those powerful people with their weapons fall backwards. The God who made people and a universe and animals and had the power to crush human beings with just saying, don't exist anymore, but has enough restraint and love and concern for what he's made to not do that, to have mercy on people, to come in the form of human so that you can relate to him with what you're going through. So think about that. God is merciful, but there comes a time where there is a time of judgment. I know this. I think about it more every day because I'm getting older. I know I'm going to die. Where am I going to be? Am I going to be in hell? Am I going to be separated from God in an actual place of torment where I remember all the evil crap I did for the rest of my eternity, forever and ever and ever and ever, 500 trillion years from now, and on and on and on, separated in darkness, sad, crying, screaming? That's reality. We could study it. God talked more about hell than he did heaven. You don't hear that stuff. Just like you don't hear about God being, I am. You know, the Jesus that willingly died for us. The Jesus who was basically Jehovah in the Old Testament with that sword. I don't know why I'm saying these things right now, but I remember it back in the 70s, all those horror movies and stuff, and they're probably so much worse now, but like The Omen or Phantasm or all these different, picture the devil movies back then and all these witches and stuff, and the people now, like in Hollywood, all these people run around with their Baphomet rings and all their Satan crap. I mean, that's what it is. He's an evil terminator who wants to kill everybody. And for those of you who serve him and willingly declare Lucifer, well, how are you going to feel when you stand before I am? There was restraint. But yet, think about the Old Testament. Sword in his hand. I was going to kill you. You were perverse. You were so screwed up. And I wasn't going to allow it. And right now, this guy, I'm putting me in there too, okay? Number one. No better. I deserved it too. You know what I mean? But just think about what I'm saying. Those that don't even care, don't have any remorse, don't have any guilty conscience about anything, think you're going to rule with this fellow Satan or Lucifer or whatever it is you think? Remember, I am. Remember restraint. Remember all the power that every human on this planet can amass, and they'd all fall backwards. Because there's going to come a time where, as a parent, you keep telling your children, please don't do this evil thing, and they keep doing it, and you have to punish them sooner or later so they learn. And there are those who will correct their behavior, and there are those who willingly just want to do bad things. The Bible's clear on that. And we need to make sure we're not in that group, because he is merciful. And I want somebody to love me. I'm glad somebody will forgive me for the screwed up crap I've done. I'm thankful. But how would you feel if you stood before God when you die and you find out you are a spirit being, and he asks you, or a mighty angel, you see this strong being up there, not aliens, an angel, not some black-eyed, weird-looking thing, but a being, beautiful, strong. And God says to it, hey, is this person Joan Smith in the book? And you're standing there, and they go, no. And you see Jesus, who you thought was this whatever. Maybe you got a version of Hollywood where he's just soft, or you made fun of, like I was getting to with these Omen movies, or where the cross was upside down and ripped off because of the power of the devil, and the devil always wins. It's not going to be that way. Jesus is not a wimp. Jesus is cool. Jesus is a warrior when he needs to be. And when he comes back to this earth to take it over with the people that decided to be in his family, millions upon millions of people in spirit bodies, coming through the universe, splitting through the dimension. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine standing before that person? I don't know about you, but I've stood before a principal when I was a little kid in the elementary school, and the principal slammed that old thick wooden door when I was scared the living daylights out of me. I've stood before a judge, You give them respect, you know, they can throw you in jail. How do you think people that serve Satan and Satan himself, who was a created angel at one time, who became an adversary of God, and you see him up there bound and on his knees, whimpering before I am, and you realize that's the one I followed, that's the one I gave my life to, that's the one, and then the sentence is pronounced. They go to the lake of fire. They're not in the book. And God chucks everybody in there that wasn't in the book, including the devil and his angels. There's a time coming for that. I just thought I'd add that in there this time. Maybe we'll get into this a little bit more in the next couple. But just remember, God is loving, God is good. He's clean and pure and an awesome person and wonderful. And he can relate to us and will forgive us. But he's also a judge. And he's also just. And he's also I am. And I personally feel like we kind of have gotten lackadaisical, about how we treat God or think about God. We should respect him. He's the highest being in the universe. And if we give people in our court system respect just because, we're afraid of what they're going to do to us even, how much more does I am that I am, the self-existent one, how much should we respect him? So we'll talk a little bit more next time. We'll maybe just be a little more real about things we're going through together. And thanks for listening to me about these things about God. I just thought they were cool. And what's cool about God is he wants to be in a relationship with people. It's not about religions. It's about having a relationship with God and him being your father and your friend. So that's really what it's about. Think about that. You can know the person who made you in the universe and learn about the plans he's got for humanity. It gives you hope. You realize you got a purpose and there's a purpose for everything. And, we can learn of him. So thanks for watching this video. Share it and, tell people about it and, go search for God. Get closer to him and learn of him and get into the Bible and search it out. And thanks for listening and talk to you on the next video. Take care. Bye.